Spiral from the Book of Saw hits Australian cinemas on May 13th, and while the creators insist you don't have to have seen any of the Saw franchise to enjoy this film, I'm here to do some insisting of my own, encouraging you to revisit it or check it out for the first time, because as with most horror, or fine wine, this series has gotten better with age. If you've seen the Spiral trailers and thought, no thank you, looks low budget, filled with bad dialogue and cop cliches, then you need to be strapped into an elaborate torture porn style trap so you can learn to appreciate life better. This is all just part of the fun, which you'll see as I plead and bleed my case as to why the Saw franchise is worth a revisit before seeing Spiral. To ensure maximum franchise enjoyment, this will all be as spoiler-free as possible. Saw 2004. The film that launched the careers of James Wan and Leigh Whannell. Written by both of them and directed by Wan, much of the stylistic choices were due to lack of budget and time. The big name performances from Danny Glover and Carrie Elways are hokey and rushed, also due to said budget and time. It's bananas and ups the enjoyment factor. Go with it. This isn't elevated horror, which isn't a real thing, just accept that horror can have good filmmaking too, you snobs, and give Toni Collette an Oscar for Hereditary already. Yeah, I'm talking to you 2019 Academy Awards. The real star is the twist ending, which the franchise will be known for, and if you haven't seen this one, stop right now. The twist is a real pants kicker and might be spoiled in clips moving forward. Saw 2, 2005. Success equals sequel. It's Hollywood Math 101. As is taking a script that was never intended to be part of a franchise and turning it into a sequel. Isn't that right, Pinhead from Hellraiser 5 or upwards?
That's right.
The Desperate was a standalone spec script written by Darren Lynn Bousman, which was turned into Saw 2 with Bousman directing. He'll be back for parts 3 and 4 also, as well as returning at Chris Rock's approval for Spiral from the Book of Saw. Leigh Whannell also returned for part 2 to assist in turning Bousman's script into a Saw movie. It features a House of Horrors, Shawnee Smith as trap survivor Amanda, and another great twist. It's an awesome sequel, turning the low-budget restraints of the first film into what would be known as the franchise's signature style. Moving on. Saw 3, 2006. This one feels like the end of a trilogy sans partying Ewoks. Leigh Whannell returns again to write the script and wrap things up. It's one of the grisliest of the series, giving fans of the franchise what they expect, answering any lingering questions from the previous 2 entries, no matter how minute, and gore galore. Bousman's back directing, doing wild in-camera location transitions, and although this feels like a wrap-up, the producers can't help but include a mystery scene that goes unanswered and has the likes of a young cinematic universe builder Kevin Feige scribbling in his notepad. I'm listening. Saw 4, 2007. This sequel was greenlit even before Saw 3 did massive business. See mystery scene in previous entry. The Jigsaw killer is now dead and receiving a graphic autopsy scene at the beginning of the movie, resulting in the first R rating of the franchise in Australia. It's glorious, gruesome stuff, so much so that it makes me speak in alliteration. With John Kramer gone, a copycat killer or new apprentice needs to take over. This sequel was much maligned at the time, by me included, although I did still have some fun with it. The new person behind it all felt lacking compared to the original killer, but upon rewatch, I now really appreciate what a brutish, nasty prick he is. We're well and truly into melodrama and violent soap opera territory now. Every minor character and moment from previous entries is tied into this plot. Watching the franchise now, we don't have to wait a year for the next movie to come out, and our contemporary binge-watching consumption makes this series more palatable and easy to follow. Plus, there's the creativity of cranking out one of these movies per year. Saw 5, 2008. Bousman is out as a director, claiming he will never direct a Saw movie again. This is the last one for him. Spoiler alert. See also Friday the 13th Part 4, The Final Chapter, 1984. Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, 1991. And Saw, The Final Chapter, 2010. Part 5 sees the lingering on the violence scaled back and was not as well received at the time. I liked it in cinemas, but now it's one of my favourite entries in the franchise, due to the cat and mouse games between a determined cop left over from parts 3 and 4 and the thuggish prick apprentice. Another great ending. Saw 6, 2009. The soap opera continues in the best way possible. Due to Saw 5, this one underperformed, but is regarded as one of the best in the series and the first Saw movie to have a message, dealing with the state of the American health system at the time. Let's not get too deep though, it also has a carousel with a shotgun blast to the face. And a finale that propels us into Saw, The Final Chapter. Spoiler alert, see also Friday the 13th Part 4, The Final Chapter, Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, and Saw, The Final Chapter. Also known as Saw 3D, the chapter was originally planned as a 2-parter, much like other films at the time like Twilight Breaking Dawn Parts 1 and 2. Except if they were Saw movies, Bella would have to choose between Team Vampire Guy or Team Werewolf Bro. Live or die, choose your hunk. Due to the underperformance of Part 6, the story was squashed into one movie that took advantage of the 3D craze at the time. Pass me another slice of pizza and crack open a new 6-pack. This all resulted in a cheesy but rushed final chapter that felt like a TV series that was cancelled too soon, tying up all loose ends but leading to one of the weaker entries in the franchise. Almost 10 years later, after the final chapter, comes Jigsaw 2017. It was Halloween, and Saw returned again to try and reclaim the box office, with Aussies at the helm again, the Spierig brothers. The plan was to do away with the old Saw style, which they somewhat did visually, but at the same time were still clinging to some of the tropes of the original films. At the time of release, it was great to be back in the Saw world, with potentially Jigsaw up to his old tricks. But on rewatch, this chapter doesn't have enough connections to the original series, and it doesn't do enough different to make it something new, leaving it lacking and making the movie the weakest entry in the franchise. It's fine, but that's it really. Still worth a watch. The Book of Saw is now ready to be opened again with Spiral, an idea pitched and starring self-confessed mega Saw fan Chris Rock, and hailing the return of Saw 2 to 4 director Darren Lynn Bousman. Everyone involved seems as passionate about these movies as I am after my Saw franchise revisit, which I highly recommend. It's a good times beer and pizza series that stands amongst the great horror franchises. Even though it may not be necessary for the new film, I guarantee a rewatch will have you hyped, cranking the 21 Savage track,
I'ma let him spin like a spiral,
and confessing in the immortal words of Samuel L. Jackson,
"You wanna play games, motherfucker? All right, I'll play."
Hello, Detective Banks. When was the last time you saw your father?